beautiful. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and it is a phenomenal day. It's a great day. Oh my goodness, what a day. You got Villa get embarrassed by one of the worst teams in the league. Emi Martinez, one of my least favorite players, getting himself stupidly sent off, and possibly his last game for Villa. So sweet. You got Everton embarrassing Newcastle at their place, which was phenomenal. Yeah, Man City got the win, but Liverpool couldn't beat Palace in the final game at home when they're about to lift a trophy. Brighton reminded Spurs who they were, and Arsenal just barely squeaked past one of the worst Premier League teams in all history. But the creme de la creme, obviously the win. What a great win. It wasn't the most clinical. It wasn't the most dominant performance we've had. We got the win. It was not one that I was necessarily expecting. The expectation kind of was maybe we drop a point right at the end. Thankfully, we were comfortable enough at that point with Newcastle and with Villa. We were not in any danger if Forest did get a late equalizer. We weren't in any danger of dropping out of the Champions League places. But it was just so nice to hold on to it. After how many times we've given up or dropped late points, it was just real nice to see a clean sheet out, get the win, get the 3 points, and comfortably finish fourth. I'll admit there was a part of me that was a bit greedy, and I kind of wanted third, and Fulham didn't turn up, and that's disappointing, but c'est la vie. But first things first, I will talk about the negatives, because while I still have to talk about the negatives because it's a review, and I have to talk about positives and negatives, I'm going to glaze through the negatives real quick, because what's the point? We won. Like, this is the end of the season now. We got our job done. We did what we needed to do. In my opinion, it's not until the actual last game of the season that is the most important thing. Every other game, yes, the result is important, but also how you play is important too, because it leads into the next match. So I'm not sitting here concerned about how we played today and how that's going to affect our next match. Whereas when we played like crap against Man U, I was worried we were going to do that against Forest today. But to quickly talk about the negatives, I thought Madueke was pretty poor today. Very selfish again, several moments when he gave up the ball way too easily. Sancho didn't really turn up, in my opinion. I was excited to see him start because I felt like he had started to do a little bit more over the past set of weeks, but today he didn't really give us much. While the defense was mostly solid, there were some gaps throughout the game. I think Tosin, once again, like we've seen in the past for most of our defenders, he turned off in a couple moments. He lost track of his runner in a couple moments, and thankfully Chris Wood wasn't on top of it today. But performance-wise, everybody else was fine. Gusto maybe was a little weak coming off the bench. But as far as Maresca's concerned, the lineup was iffy. You know, it's kind of what I expected of him, with Neto up top, thankfully. That was my only uncertainty as far as the lineup. He did go with Neto up top, but he didn't go with the midfield three like I wanted him to, and I do feel like that kind of hurt us at times in the first half. But his sub, in my opinion, was the right sub. Getting Sancho off, getting Lavia on, now we have a midfield three. I was a little disappointed he didn't keep Neto up top and push Palmer out wide. I don't know why he's against Palmer playing out wide. That was a little disappointing. And then Gusto coming on for Neto. Okay, that's fine. Just he's not really coming on at fullback. He's a bit more of a winger that's going to track back more. And then Dewsbury-Hall, I was a little weirded out by that one, just because why? Especially when you got George that can come off the bench and give you something going forward. Dewsbury-Hall is not really going to give you much, but at the very least, he's going to work hard, try to win the ball back. So I guess you've got that, but I was just a little disappointed George was not given a chance to help us see out this match. But those are my negatives. Moving past that, getting into the positives. First of all, from Maresca, I do think the change to the lineup, I do think getting that first sub in, when he brought it on too, very, very important. He did make some changes that made us more defensive. Like I said, Gusto coming on for Neto, Dewsbury-Hall coming on for, I think it was Madueke. I mean, both of those changes, even Lavia coming on for Sancho, those changes are making us more defensively compact. They're giving us more help in the midfield. They're giving us more help on defense. So those changes were good. They were not done late. The first one, I think, was on 65, somewhere in there. Well-timed changes on that. I will give him credit for putting Neto up top. I think that was a good, smart choice. As I've said many times before now, I think Neto is our best second option this season if Jackson's not available. So ultimately, I think he got quite a few of those decisions right today. There were a couple scary ones, but on the whole of it, I'm happy. As far as individual performances, Sanchez in goal did well, collected some good crosses, no real scary moments from him today. I thought he was calm, comfortable. Made one really good save. I thought there was a cutback from, I think, Henderson that he managed to get a hand to and push it away from Wood, which was very much needed. And even just the one that Wood put over, he got himself in a good position to block any chance of him putting it on target. Like Wood had to try to go over him, and because he had to go over him, it forced him to go too high. So I thought he did well today. Didn't really take any chances on the ball either, which, as I've said before, really helps us. James at right back, good passes on the ball, defensively solid. There was a moment late on that I saw that kind of frustrating James that I've dealt with before, where he's got two defenders coming, trying to put pressure on him. And instead of just getting it out or getting it away, he kicks it into the player in front of him, and then that puts them in behind him, and that set up a pretty decent chance. But overall, his performance today was much more comfortable, much more what I want to see from James at right back. Tosin, like I said, he had some gaps. I am concerned that this means that the club has probably talked to Maresca and said, hey, he's not going to be here next year, because there's no other reason, in my opinion, why Chalobah would not be starting these last two matches. So that is disappointing. Cole, I thought, looked pretty good. Nothing really spectacular, nothing awful from him today. He just did his job, which is much needed. Cucurella, once again, very, very comfortable at left back. Didn't get up into the box as much as we're used to seeing him do, but I thought defensively he looked very solid, especially on the corners. At one point, there was a bit of a scramble in the box, and it's just kind of bouncing all over the place. People getting their heads on it, going back up in the air, header back up in the air. And Cucurella, you can just see, watching the replay, he is always aware of what's going on. He's in motion. He's ready to go. He's ready to step out. And it falls to, I don't remember who it was, but he steps out there real fast and gets in the way, blocks the first shot. The second one's like a tame attempt right at Sanchez to gobble it up. But if he's not ready for that, he doesn't get out there and block that first shot, who knows, that might be blasted into the far corner. So he's a player that's always in motion, and I feel like that's something that is lacking from our game a lot of the time. It's why, in my opinion, he scores so many goals for us, is because he is in motion when nobody else is. Into the middle, Caicedo, once again, phenomenal. It's so funny because I actually did do a little bit of a deep dive after the last couple of matches, because the conversation has sort of turned. Team of the Year has been coming out from all these different pundits, and Caicedo's not in a lot of them. And Chelsea fans are rightly asking, why? Are you not watching Chelsea matches? Are you not seeing how effective he is? And I even pulled up some stats, because I'm not really somebody who puts a lot of stock into stats in football, because stats don't always tell the truth. I would say football is probably the sport where stats affect the game the least. But even then, looking at stats, you look at Gravenberch, you look at Rice, those two are kind of the two. McAllister, Tonali are in there as well. But those are the two, when people are talking about midfields, those are the two that are popping up the most. Two players from two teams that are at the top of the league. So I understand why they're in the conversation. But when you look at Caicedo's numbers defensively versus those two, he's miles ahead in most categories. When you look at tackles, look at tackles per game, look at successful duels, when you look at interceptions, when you look at clearances, and most of those stats, he's ahead. And I'll even say, even on the ball, to show that he's comfortable on the ball. He doesn't give it away a lot. He doesn't have an issue on the ball. But defensively, he's a monster. I look at last week's performance against Man U. That's a perfect example of, yeah, Chelsea aren't at the top of their game this season. They've kind of fallen off the second half of the season. Caicedo's still been class throughout the entire season. There's no reason he should not be up, first of all, for Young Player of the Season, but I would even put him up there for Player of the Season, because I think he has been worthy of that. Fernandes was okay. It wasn't anything spectacular from him today. A couple of times I wish he'd been a little bit stronger, but overall, I thought he held the ball well enough, kept the ball moving, did a decent job in there. The front four, Palmer without a true striker up front, he doesn't do quite as well. We should already know this at this point, so this was another example of, he wasn't at his best today because he didn't have time to make anything happen. It's why I do think putting him out wide would probably work better, because he gets out of that middle where you have both defensive midfielders and defenders both double teaming on him. If he's out on the right, most of the time you only have to deal with the fullback, and he's clever enough to get around most fullbacks. So I think that would really work for him in games like this where we don't have Jackson up front with his movement to open up space for Palmer. But oh well, it's disappointing. I hate the fact that he's definitely devoid of confidence because of how the second half of the season has gone and how I don't think Maresca has utilized him correctly. But hopefully next season we'll see either Maresca will change or maybe the manager will change. I want to see Palmer get back to where he was before. Madueke and Sancho, I already talked about them, but yeah, they just weren't that impressive. And then Neto up top obviously gets himself the assist. He was very mobile today. Unfortunately, he was marked out for a lot of it because we were playing kind of slow in the first half. And that, as I said in the preview, typically leads to we have to just pass backwards until eventually it goes to Sanchez, and then we just have to go long. because the pressure is too high and we're not moving it quick enough to get out of that pressure. Obviously, Neto is not going to beat Murillo or Milenkovic, I think. He's not going to beat either of them in the air. So he was not having a whole lot of joy today, but it was nice to see him get an assist. Very much the mentality that I wish more of our attacking players had of, I'm just in motion, I'm ready to go, and that ball gets flicked in behind, flicked on from the defender, and he's ready, he's in there, and he's getting the ball across quickly. As far as the subs that came on, Lavia, I think, helped solidify our midfield a little bit more. Gusto, he's not had a great season, and this was another one where he's on there for pace, he's on there for legs, put pressure on, track back as a winger, and he did most of that okay. Dewsbury-Hall is kind of the same. But the big thing, we're in the Champions League. That is huge. That is so big for our summer. I wasn't sure if we were going to see it. I wasn't sure if we were going to get the job done today. It was very nerve-wracking going into it. But ultimately, the guys turned up. The first half, I will say, it was still kind of slow, but it wasn't slow in the way that we saw for Man U or for Newcastle, where it looked like everybody was just sort of sleepwalking around. It just felt like we were slow in possession. Too many touches, taking too long to release the ball. That's where we were playing slow today. But defensively, we looked up for it. We looked organized. We were not giving them a whole lot of options. We weren't getting easily passed through. There's a lot of fight in that first half. As I said in the preview, for Maresca's style, we can't play that slow in possession. It turns into what we saw. Back to the keeper, going long. So for next season, we've either got to get players that are going to play quicker out of the back, that are going to knock it out quicker, or Maresca just needs to change his style and realize that that's not working for what we have. But that's a whole nother video. We'll talk about some of the transfers and all of that stuff probably after the Betis match. But today we're going to soak in the victory. We're going to revel in it. We're going to feel good. It's been a while since I've gotten this excited about Chelsea. I'm still worried because the transfer team could make a lot of problems in the summer with some of the players moving out, some of the players coming in. And frankly, with Maresca, I'm still not entirely convinced about what he's going to do as a manager, whether or not he's capable of adapting in a season, throughout several matches. But at the very least, we got Champions League football, and that's something that I'm not sure a lot of us were expecting at the beginning of the season. So I'm happy with it. And now we just have to go beat Betis, because while this does take a lot of pressure off as far as winning that match, I still think that's a match we should be winning. I still think it's a match we need to get out there. We need to go win that, just so we can put that out of the way and go, yep, we were in that competition. We won it. We've won all the European trophies. Now let's move on, and let's move on to bigger and better things. With all that being said, though, I'll be doing a preview for that match probably Tuesday, more than likely. So keep an eye out for that. But those are my thoughts today. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts in the game today? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews. Also, check out the channel. We have a lot of reviews on here, as well as some Let's Plays, so check those out if you have time. But until next time, hope you guys have a great day. And I will talk to you all later. Peace out.